Hi everyone, welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. I'm Lisa Curcio. I have a super cute card for you today, but I can't take credit for this one. This was designed by my friend Jill, and I absolutely loved how she used a punch to accent this adorable Tasty Trucks stamp set. This is a celebration product and it's been wildly popular. The great thing about the stamp set is the varied images that are in there for all different occasions. Remember to head over to my blog where you'll find pictures, cutting dimensions, and a supply list. While you're there, click on the Online Classes tab and you'll get information on project PDF tutorials and my studio stamps in the mail. Let's get over to the stamp table and let's get started. Now you can see how cute this card really is. Look at the embossing here with the Happy Hearts embossing folder. Really brings out that punched piece. Let's get started on putting it together. I'm using a half a sheet of pink pirouette cardstock. You're going to find all the dimensions for today's project over on my blog. The link is down in the description bar if you're viewing this from YouTube, so you can get there really easily. So we folded that in half, and I always like to fold in half before I emboss the front, so I make sure that I've got my perimeters correct. So this is the Happy Hearts embossing folder. We're going to slip it on the front, kind of like a slip cover. And I'm just going to line up the fold on the edge of the embossing folder here. I'm just going to kind of make sure that my hearts are centered within the card. That's just the way that I want this one. And then we're going to bring in the Big Shot. I've got my Big Shot die cut machine with my Big Shot platform. This is the new platform that came out within the last year, so all the tabs are eliminated. It makes it so much easier to crank through as far as the width of the workspace you have. I'm going to put one of the clear cutting mats on the bottom. I'm going to lay my embossing folder and cardstock here, and then a clear mat over the top. So now I've got what I call a sandwich here. And then I'm just going to crank this through the Big Shot. I will tell you, of all the things that I have in my stamp studio, if something ever happened here, this would be the first thing I would grab is my Big Shot, because I can do anything with this thing. All right, set that aside, and I've got here the card that we've just embossed, and you can see how cute that's come out. Let's go ahead and work on the image. I'm going to be using the Tasty Trucks stamp set. This is a free product during Celebration. If you don't know what Celebration is, boy, you're really missing out. Everything inside this little brochure is absolutely free between January 4th and March 31st. The great thing is all you have to do is spend $50 in regular product of your choice, and you can choose one of these things for free. So this was my choice, and I will tell you it has been wildly popular with everyone who's placed an order with me. This little food truck can be jazzed up to include all different types of things and some really fun greetings. So I've mounted mine here, photopolymer on a clear block, and I'm using Memento ink. I am a huge fan of Memento ink when it comes to photopolymer. Photopolymer will stain over time, but I find that this stains a lot less than, of course, black archival ink, and I've had absolutely no trouble with watercoloring or markering with it. So I've cut a piece of white cardstock, and you're going to see my truck is about the same size as my ink pad. So a good tip for you is to turn your image face up on the work surface. You're going to hold the pad by the sides, and you're literally just going to tap the ink on there. This is going to allow me to make sure that I get ink everywhere. Do you see how I tipped and I got a little ink here on the block? That's no problem. This is a water-based ink. If that bothers you, you can just wipe it off with a tissue. I use my finger, guys. I'm going to be honest. And because it's photopolymer, it's going to be easy to position. So it's a sizable image, so I want to make sure that I press and get all those little detailed lines out, and then I'm going to lift. So now we've got our truck. While I've got my ink pad out, I'm going to bring in a piece of real red cardstock. And I've got a greeting from the stamp set. This one says, "You're the sweetest." I think this card would be a great thank you card, or for someone that you're missing. So I'm going to stamp that here on the real red cardstock. I'm going to use the Sweetheart punch. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to line this up. So now I have my greeting inside my heart. While I've got the paper out, I'm also going to punch out the little tiny heart that I'm going to want to add to my cupcake. And I'm using the Confetti Hearts border punch. Really, really fun because you've got some different sizes of hearts here. So I'm just going to stick the scrap in. And there's a little ledge here in the back, and that's just kind of what I'm lining up my paper to. Since I only need one, I really don't have to be fussy about it. And then I'll press That punch punches out a bunch of images at once, as you can see. So it's going to take sometimes 2 hands to get those out, but I absolutely love that punch. So I'm going to push my little hearts aside. We'll use those in just a minute. I'm going to go back to my image. And I'm going to bring you in a little closer so that you can see what I'm doing. I've got markers here. I'm going to talk about the colors as we go along. I like to start with my lightest color first. So I'm going to start with the pink Pirouette, which of course matches the cardstock. That's just the beauty of Stampin' Up! Products. Everything is color coordinated. The markers have 2 sides. There's a brush side and a pen side. The brush side is designed for coloring, and the pen side is designed for writing or journaling if you're a scrapbooker. Sometimes if you've got a really, really tiny area, this will work well to color in, but I think it leaves a little bit of a scratchy appearance, so I love to use the brush side. You can see that the tip is nice and chiseled, which makes it easy to use. So I'm going to color in the awning, and I'm going to be honest with you, I find it a lot easier if I turn this vertically to try to color in. So I'm going to go right over this little awning. So cute. Now, if you like details, and of course you can go ahead and make that little guy all striped, but wouldn't that be cute? So I'm going to add some color there. And then I'm going to add some more of this pink here around the paneling here of my little food truck. So I'm just going to stretch out my marker. The one thing about markers I think you need to know is if you repeat an area too much, it will make it a little bit darker. So that's fine if you want a little bit of dimension there. So I've added my pink there. And of course, we've got to have some pink hubcaps. Now, if you don't like that, then of course you can go ahead and change that color. But that's what I'm going to do. And you see how I'm going to go over those little marks here? It makes it just a little bit darker. Okay, so I've got that all taken care of. So now I'm going to go over to my next light color, which is going to be Soft Sky. This is just going to outline my window a little bit. I just don't want it to be too white, my image, and I don't want to color the whole thing in. So I'm going to add that Soft Sky there. Next, I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz. This marker is going to be for my ground. So I'm going to add a little bit of green down here because I want to make it look like it's on the lawn. And then I'm going to use my Real Red marker. My Real Red marker is a very strong color, but it's really going to make this pop. Oh, you know what I forgot? You know, I'm looking at this and I'm realizing I forgot the cupcake. Can you guys believe that? I mounted it and everything and it's right here. Have you done that? I'm sure you have. See? All right, so here we go. I've got my little cupcake. I'm going to ink him up on my memento pad and I'm going to stamp him inside. Again, photopolymer makes it really easy to align. So we've got our little cupcake. Now it looks right. I was like, I know I'm missing something as I'm coloring. What is it? All right, let me go back to my pink really quick. And I'm going to color in my cupcake and I'm going to color in the base. I'm going to make them both pink. You can change that obviously if you don't like it. Before I go to the red now, just so that you can see the definition here, I'm going to change to Smoky Slate. This is a gray marker and I'm going to color in this little countertop here. That's going to help separate those colors a little bit. I'm going to color in the little awning poles. I'm going to make those gray as well. And if you want to keep going, you can with the truck, but I'm going to do my tires. So I'm going to color those in with gray. I found the black was just too strong. I wanted to keep this more on the lighter side. And of course, you can experiment with lots of different colors. It'd be really fun. All right. I think I'm going to add a little bit of smoky, I'm going to add a little bit of Soft Sky to my headlight. There we go. All right, now back to the red. There we were. Now we're catching up. So I'm going to take off my tip, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the bottom panel of my truck. I really like to color. I was one of those people as a kid. That was my favorite pastime. My mom said I used to go through gazillions of markers and crayons when I was young and coloring books. I don't know about you, but I find coloring is like a therapy. Now I'm going to ask you to forgive me if I make a little boo-boo along the way. I am standing a good 18 inches from the paper to leave some space for the video camera, so bear with me here. I'm an outliner too. I like to outline before I color in. That helps me to stay in the lines, although I didn't do real good there. You'll forgive me, right? All right, so now I've got my image. Again, nice and simple. You don't have to color the whole thing in, and I wanted to show you how you could avoid doing that if you don't like to color like I do. So I'm going to flip this upside down. I'm going to add a little snail adhesive along the outside edges, And I'm going to mount that here on the black cardstock, leaving a little bit of a frame around it. You know, this is almost done. You ready? All right, we're going to add some dimensionals to the back. I've got a brand new packet here. I use these like crazy here in the Stamp Studio. I'm going to do one in each of my 4 corners. And then I'm going to take off the paper backing. My nails are short, so I like to press inside of the dimensional paper backing, which leaves a small crease, and it allows the paper corners to be lifted. It takes it off a lot easier. So I'm going to mount that here. Moved you back out a little bit so you can see. I'm going to mount that here in the center of my card. And then next we have the words, the sweetheart words. I'm going to take 2 dimensionals, and I'm actually going to put these near the top of the heart here and here. Take off that backing. I really don't need to do too much here because it's going to overlap here just a little bit. So I'm going to mount that here. And then here comes those tiny hearts. I've used this in my videos before. I get lots of questions about it. Unfortunately, it's not a product Stampin' Up! Sells just yet. It's a pick-me-up tool. This one's made by Silhouette. But you can see with these tiny hearts how hard it would be to pick these up with your fingers. It's got like a little poster tacky stuff on the end, and I like that because it just sticks, but it's easy to release. So I'm going to pick the heart size that I like. I think I'm going to go with this one. I'm going to lay it there just so I have a positioning. Then I'm going to use my fine tip glue. This dries very quickly, so it's great for small things like sequins and these little punched pieces. I'm going to make sure that my tip is cleaned off. You know how glue gets when you put it away sometimes. I'm going to put a little tiny dot right where I want the glue. You don't need very much, and you certainly don't want it oozing out all the sides. So I'm going to put that here, and then I'm just going to kind of tip this a little bit to make sure I've got it positioned the way I want it. There we go. Under a minute, that's going to be dry, but that's our card. Isn't that nice and simple? So here's the card we made today, and here's the one I made before you joined me. I'm super glad that you were here today. Remember, you can go over to my blog and get all the cutting dimensions for this, see upfront pictures and a complete supply list. And while you're there, click on that online classes tab and check out my project PDF tutorials and my stamps in the mail. Sure would love to have you and pamper you with some fun cards you can make at home. Thanks for joining me, everyone. Have a great day.